You won't believe what Mendeecees Harris just confessed about his marriage to Yandy Smith. After years of public ups and downs, cheating rumors, and emotional breakdowns on television, the reality TV couple that fans once saw as relationship goals might be standing on the edge of collapse. What Mendeecees said on BET's For the Fellas show has left fans divided, some calling him emotionally detached, others saying he's finally speaking his truth after years of silent suffering. But what's really going on behind the carefully curated Instagram posts and TV appearances? This isn't just about love and marriage. This is about two people who built their empire on reality television and are now trying to survive it. When Mendeecees sat down for his interview, the host asked him a simple but piercing question: was he putting in the work to be in a better space with his wife? His answer wasn't what anyone expected. He took a deep breath and said, "We working every day to block the noise out. We have to be mentally strong, because what's at stake is raising our kids." He paused before adding something that made the internet buzz: "I respect her, even when I don't like her." That one line, "even when I don't like her," sent shockwaves across social media. It wasn't just raw honesty, it was a confession wrapped in frustration, love, and maybe a little resentment. Fans immediately dissected the quote like investigators at a crime scene. Some said it was the most mature thing a husband could admit. Others said it was proof the spark was gone. On the Shade Room, comments poured in like wildfire. One viewer wrote, "He hates her," while another warned, "A man that doesn't like you is a man you stay far away from." But not everyone saw it that way. Love is respecting your partner, even when you don't like them. "That's deep," one fan countered. Another added, "Respecting your wife in the dark times is key," praying that Yandy and Mendeecees will always remain solid. The opinions were split right down the middle, between those who saw his statement as love evolving, and those who saw it as love dying. To understand how we got here, we have to go back. Yandy Smith and Mendeecees Harris weren't just a reality couple, they were the reality couple. Their love story began long before the cameras started rolling. Yandy, a powerhouse businesswoman and manager in the hip-hop scene, met Mendeecees when she was rising through the ranks as an entertainment executive. He was charming, ambitious, and street-savvy. Together they built a brand that embodied hustle, resilience, and family. When Love and Hip Hop New York premiered, they became the face of what a real relationship looked like. Two people weathering storms together, supporting each other through prison sentences, business challenges, and parenting struggles. But somewhere along the way, the cameras stopped being their allies and became their enemies. The show that had made them household names started to eat away at the foundation of their marriage. Fans began noticing the cracks. During Mendeecees' years behind bars, Yandy held the family down. She raised their children, managed businesses, and kept his name alive. But when he came home, things weren't the same. She was no longer the woman waiting. She was the woman leading. Mendeecees, once the strong provider, now had to adjust to a wife who'd learned to survive without him. And that power shift was something neither of them seemed ready to face. Over the years, the tension between them became part of the Love and Hip Hop storyline. One season showed Mendeecees questioning whether Yandy had truly been loyal during his time away. Another showed Yandy questioning whether Mendeecees was emotionally invested in her, or just going through the motions for the cameras. It was reality TV gold, but emotional chaos for the couple living it. Behind the scenes, Mendeecees recently admitted, "We still just trying to figure out the next chapter. And us figuring out the next chapter between us is not important to let the world know." It was a rare moment of honesty from a man whose every argument, apology, and confession had been broadcast to millions. Mendeecees said something else that revealed just how exhausted they are by public scrutiny. "We can't allow the pressure of the outside to dictate what we're doing. We gotta do things at our pace, when we're ready. We gotta be comfortable with that." He sounded like a man trying to rebuild something sacred that had been exposed to too much light. But the problem is, once your love story becomes entertainment, there's no going back to privacy. Every fight becomes a headline, every glance a meme. And when Yandy dropped her own bombshell last month on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, that she'd formed an emotional connection with another man, fans realized this wasn't just a rough patch, this was a full-blown emotional crisis. The timing couldn't have been worse. Earlier this year, several cast members had already accused Mendeecees of having an affair. Rumors swirled that he'd been seen getting too close with another woman during a trip to Houston. Nothing was confirmed, but in the world of reality TV, perception is everything. By the time Yandy's confession aired, viewers didn't know who to believe. Was this emotional connection a reaction to his rumored cheating? Or was it a symptom of two people drifting apart after years of surviving instead of thriving? On social media, the court of public opinion was in full session. Some blamed Mendeecees, saying he'd emotionally checked out long ago. Others defended him, claiming Yandy had used his prison time to rebrand herself as a single powerhouse and that emasculated him. "They've been done," one fan wrote. "They just don't want to admit it on TV." But another commenter countered, "This is what real marriage looks like, two people figuring it out in the messy parts." And then there were those who compared them to another famous couple. Michelle said there were 10 years she hated Barack, and they still made it. Please hush. It was the perfect reminder that marriage, even without cameras, can be a battlefield. But this battlefield was televised. The emotional distance between Yandy and Mendeecees had become visible even in their body language. On screen, Yandy looked tired, measured, choosing her words like someone afraid they'd be used against her. Mendeecees, on the other hand, seemed detached, like a man protecting himself from another public heartbreak. When he said he respects her even when he doesn't like her, it sounded like a line rehearsed from years of marriage counseling. But underneath that line was a plea for understanding. Because when you've been through prison time, public scandals and network drama, respect might be the only thing left holding you together. Those close to the couple say that both are trying to heal, but on separate emotional timelines. Yandy, ever the optimist, has been focusing on her advocacy work and businesses. Mendeecees has been talking more about fatherhood and legacy. In his interview, he kept circling back to the children. "What's at stake," he said, "is raising our kids." It was clear that for him, the family unit mattered more than the romantic one. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's a sign that the relationship might be transforming from passion to partnership, from love to responsibility. The irony is that Yandy and Mendeecees once stood as proof that love could survive fame, prison, and pressure. They were the couple fans rooted for. When Yandy held that prison phone, crying to him on TV, people saw raw devotion. When he came home and surprised her, millions cheered. But now, years later, that same transparency has turned into emotional exposure. They've shown the world too much, and in doing so left very little for themselves. Even Mendeecees seems to know that now. "We've learned the hard way about being too open," he said. "We can't have that pressure anymore." But has the damage already been done? Insiders say that while the couple still shares a home and business ventures, they spend more time apart than together. Yandy has been traveling for projects, speaking engagements, and charity work. Mendeecees has been focusing on mentorship and TV appearances. They come together for family moments, birthdays, and social media posts. But behind the smiles, the connection feels forced. It's the cost of turning your relationship into a storyline. And maybe deep down, both of them know that the cameras can't capture what's really happening when the lights go off. In one particularly emotional scene from Love and Hip Hop, Yandy told a friend, "Sometimes I don't even recognize us anymore." It was a haunting confession, and it mirrored what fans have suspected for months, that love might not be enough, when fame, betrayal, and public judgment keep interfering. Meanwhile, Mendeecees' quiet tone and his choice of words, respect, mental strength, blocking noise, suggest a man who's no longer fighting for the old version of love, but trying to redefine what it means to stay together after years of damage. Yet despite all the drama, there's still a strange beauty in how they talk about each other. When Mendeecees said he respects her even when he doesn't like her, it wasn't cold, it was human. Anyone who's been in a long relationship knows that love changes. Sometimes it burns, sometimes it cools, sometimes it's just about endurance. And maybe that's what they're both clinging to, the hope that endurance will eventually bring them back to peace. Fans continue to debate whether their marriage is in its final chapter or simply evolving. Some are calling for them to step away from TV completely, to save what's left of their bond. Others argue that their story has become bigger than them. It's a mirror for millions of couples who struggle in silence, pretending to be perfect for the world. Maybe that's why people still care so deeply. They don't just see Yandy and Mendeecees, they see themselves. The latest footage from Love and Hip Hop Atlanta shows them sitting together, discussing their relationship while cameras roll. There's an awkward pause, a long silence that says more than words ever could. Yandy looks down, fidgeting with her ring. Mendeecees looks away. It's not anger, it's exhaustion. Two people who've loved each other so hard that they've run out of ways to prove it. The audience can feel it. The tension, the sadness, the quiet respect. And yet the story isn't over. Despite the gossip, despite the emotional confessions, they're still showing up. Maybe not perfectly, but still together, still trying. And in today's world, that's rare. It's easy to leave, it's harder to stay and rebuild when everyone's watching. Whether they make it or not, Mendeecees and Yandy have already left their mark. not as the perfect couple, but as the real one. As one fan perfectly put it online, this is the worst part in For Better or For Worse. Figuring it out. I like how he still protected her even though they're in a gray area. That sentiment might just capture what their marriage truly is right now. A gray area, not an ending. Just two people standing in the storm, trying to find the calm again. So while the world speculates, they continue to move quietly, rebuilding boundaries, rediscovering themselves, and deciding privately this time what comes next. Maybe it's healing, maybe it's goodbye, or maybe just maybe it's the next chapter Mendeecees was talking about. What do you think about this news? Let us know in the comments below.